Are you all excited about MomoCon? Yes, yes. Well, we have a fantastic panel for you all. This is Behind the Mic, a voice actor panel. And we have some great guests, and I wanted to first invite Brandon McInnes.
I like the stars. Oh, hi. Oh, wow. Wow. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to, what is it, Behind the Mic? Is it,
Yes,
behind the mic.
yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, so Brandon, how are you doing? How has con been so far?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I was really surprised yesterday because I would think, oh, a Thursday, there aren't going to be that many people here. I was amazed. I was like, wow, MomoCon is showing up in full force. So it's nice.
Right. It's so exciting. What's your favorite part about con?
Ooh, I think my favorite part about going to conventions is that I always have something to talk about with people.
Right.
You know, if I'm talking to fans of a show, I've recorded the show, so I know the story, and we can sort of geek out about it together.
Yes, that's really great. So I do want to get started. Just like I said, this is a voice acting panel, and I do have some questions for you about that. So, what was your motivation to start voice acting?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was working as an engineer. I was a software engineer. Any software engineers here in the house? Any coders? Yeah, my people. Awesome. I was a Ruby on Rails engineer for like 7 years. So, but yeah, I trained for musical theater, and I would do like musical theater at night just as a hobby. And long story short, there was a director who needed a singer for a show in Dallas, and it's Funimation. Okay. And so I started working there.
So that was your first opportunity?
Yes, to work at Funimation proper.
Okay.
I had worked at a satellite studio at Okratron with Ian Sinclair, the director of Black Butler, a little before that. Okay. My fiance, J. Michael Tatum. Anybody know J. Michael Tatum? Yeah, he's pretty great. I'm a little biased, but he's pretty great. We've been together for almost 10 years, and so we knew some directors, and I knew Ian Sinclair, and Ian Sinclair was the, like I said, director of Black Butler, and he reached out to me at one point, and he said, oh, hello, we have ladies and gentlemen, Griffin Burr!
Hey, everybody. Sorry to interrupt, but I'm a few minutes late.
Hi, Griffin, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Are you enjoying con?
It's been great so far. Today's my first day. I didn't make it yesterday, so yeah, it's been good. Yeah, but anyway, carry on. Let's carry on. I don't want to interrupt.
So Ian Sinclair reached out to me and he said, hey, the translator for season 3 Book of Circus is having some trouble with a dialect. Would you take a look? And I was like, okay. I have a degree in Japanese language, and I worked as a translator in Tokyo for a little over a year. And I said, sure, Ian, okay. So I look at this dialect, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I found the answer on Yahoo Answers Japan, which surprisingly is still used. Yahoo Answers in Japan, weirdly. But anyway, so I helped him with it, and he worked with Matt Mercer, the actor for Joker, to figure out the proper UK dialect that they would be using in it. And he said, hey, do you want to come in and voice some cats? And I'm like, sure, okay, Ian, okay. He thought it was funny because in the show, Sebastian really doesn't care about anything or anyone except for cats. And Ian thought it would be funny because Michael's the exact same way, just with me. So it worked out. It was good. And that was technically my first voiceover gig. It was all the cats in season 3 of Black Butler. Yeah.
So for you, Griffin, I'll ask the same question. Okay. What was your first opportunity for voiceover work?
Okay, first opportunity for voiceover. Could it be anything or
right, it could be
anything?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you all hear okay? Is it? Okay, cool. Because up here it's hard to hear.
It sounds really weird.
Yeah, I was really having a hard time hearing you. Yeah, so I moved to Los Angeles in 2010. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I moved there. I didn't really know what I was going to do, and I had joined a casting website called LA Casting. I could have made an OnlyFans joke, but I guess it didn't exist then. Anyway, LA Casting, and there was a voiceover audition there on there, and because I have a background in music and had been recording my bands as a kid in middle school and high school, I set up shop in a closet and recorded this audition, and 3 weeks later I booked it. I got lucky. It was to play a young soldier for a scavenger hunt at San Diego's Balboa Park. Has anyone ever been to Balboa Park or know San Diego Zoo? Anybody? No. Okay. Atlanta folks. Anyway, so yeah, I did this like voiceover to play like a young World War II guy, voices of the past, and that was the light bulb moment. That was the moment I was like, oh, this is voiceover, cool. This is a cool gig. You know, it uses skills that I must have or something. So I took classes after that and got a demo made, and then like fast forward a year, I got an agent, and then auditioning, and then eventually it became a full-time thing. But that was my first gig, in a nutshell. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Griffin, because I had a background in music as well. I was doing like music production, but I was just like doing it on my own, right? Mm-hmm. And I was in a couple bands too, much smaller in scope. But when you were starting out, did you find that your music background helped you immensely with the tech side of voiceover?
Yes, absolutely. So if anybody out there, does anybody do music or recording? Yeah? So it definitely does help you. You have a leg up if you're trying to become a voice actor, because especially now, because everybody's recording remotely from home because of COVID, you know? So when I was starting, being able to, you know, have good mic presence, know how to use a microphone without, you know, popping your P's and whatever, and being able to, you know, man the channels, make sure the gain is good and all that, it all plays a big part. A lot of people don't realize that in voice acting, not only you're doing acting, but you're also engineering, you're self-directing, you're wearing a lot of hats. So you're a business person, so, you know, keep that in mind. It's, you know, there's the voice acting part, but you also have to be able to do all these other things. So if you already have a music background and know how to record, yay. Brownie points.
Acting's the easiest part of what we do, I feel.
I think so too. I think, yeah.
So how do you all, I see you both almost finish your water, how do you all protect your voice?
Ooh, vocal health. How do we protect our voices? So I was really interested in vocal health in college because I was studying for opera, actually, and I went way overboard back then. I'd be like, I can have no dairy. I must have no caffeine the day. It was a lot. It was a lot. But to protect our voices, my voice teacher in college said there are people who can roll out of bed and just immediately start singing without any warming up. I am not one of those people. I don't know about you, but
Sing right away?
to sing, like getting up in the morning, if I have a session, I have to be awake 2 hours before it, or my voice will not be ready at all. So we obviously hydrate a lot, and when we do vocally intense stuff, we have to be careful. We like to know ahead of time just so we can mentally prepare, but also you cannot fight inflammation on your vocal cords. The only thing that helps inflammation at all is not using your vocal cords. So, for instance, when I did Gyutaro in Demon Slayer, which is, you know, this really harsh voice with a ton of screaming, I would take lots and lots of breaks. We'd record for 20 minutes, and I'd be like, all right, can we take a 5? Cool. And I would just sit in silence for 5 minutes, letting this, like, the inflammation go down a little bit. And then I wouldn't schedule anything before or after a Demon Slayer session on that day. So that's usually what I do with intense stuff. How about you?
I don't do anything too crazy. Like Brandon said, I get up like plenty early before a session to let my voice naturally warm up. Drink water, I drink hot tea. Hot tea really cuts through things pretty fast, so that's definitely helpful. Humming actually is helpful. They say not to whisper. One of the worst things you can do for your voice is to whisper. So if you're losing your voice, don't do it. Just don't talk. Oh, yeah. But also, you know, I make plenty of mistakes. Like I play in a band, and I just played last night or the night before. I can't remember now. But I was like not screaming, but singing at the top of my lungs for like 40 minutes, and then I woke up really hoarse. So I probably could learn a thing or two. Maybe your opera techniques could help me out. I don't always use like the best, you know, singing techniques and stuff. So, you know, you live and learn. But you know, if you're gonna do a 30-minute of screaming in a session, or you're gonna sing, give yourself some time to rest and hydrate.
I'm actually terrible with vocal technique on live shows. But every time I've done like a live show with in a band setting, I always blow my voice out.
Well,
It's hard.
with the energy of the room, if you're playing a show, you just want to go all out, you know, and you just let it all to the wind. I don't know what
difficult.
expression is.
Do you all ever have days when you don't feel like voice acting? When how do you ever have?
You don't feel like voice acting.
Oh.
Like, how do you combat that? Like, you're gonna go in the studio and you're trying to voice act and you feel like I just can't.
That's the acting part. No. Sometimes we have to use more acting than less, but yeah, I can guarantee you, all of us have days when we're like tired, exhausted, whatever, and we have to go in and die realistically and be in pain and go through these terrible emotional things, and we don't feel like it. Definitely.
Totally. Well, for me, I really don't like sessions that sort of go beyond 3 hours. I feel like the human voice can really only, I don't know, you can only handle so much in a day. You can only do so much talking in a day before it wears out. And I think beyond a 3-hour session is a little bit much. So if I have like a 2-hour thing in the morning and then I've got this like 3 or 4 hour thing in the afternoon, that's when I'm like, I don't want to do this second session.
Yeah.
But feel very fortunate to do what I do. So, first world problems, very much, very much.
It also depends on the type of voice you're being hired to do.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, anything that's in battle, battle stuff, or fighting games. Fighting games are the worst. Like in terms of vocal stress.
Totally.
But yeah, I think for those we try to keep those at like 2 hours. I can't do much more than 2 hours on a fighting game.
What was the most memorable audition, and what was it like?
Memorable audition?
Yes.
Yeah. Mine was probably the Demon Slayer audition for Gyutaro, because the studio that sends those auditions out usually includes like a reference to the Japanese performance. And I had never heard anyone in any language do what Ryota Osaka did with Gyutaro. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what is this dude doing with his voice? Because it's all creaky and up here. And that's me.
That's you.
Yeah. And I was like, what? So I sat and like kind of studied the voice for probably like 2 hours straight, and then was practicing it around the house, trying to figure out technically what he was doing, like with his pharynx and like all the cartilages and stuff. And so I put a lot of work into that one. So that's probably the most memorable for me.
Yeah. I'm not really sure how to answer the question. One that comes to mind is I'm in a show called Bat Wheels, which is like a kids Batman show on Cartoon Network and stuff. And I play the Joker van. And I almost passed on the audition. I was in Hawaii on basically a vacation, and it was a workcation. I was working there too. But this audition came through for the Joker van, and I didn't want to do it. And the person I was with at the time was like, "You gotta do it. Come on, and it won't take you too long. You're perfect for it." So I remember just sitting with the script and, rehearsing it a little bit, and then thinking, I'm just gonna knock this out as fast as I can. So I went up to the booth. I brought a travel booth with me, and I'd probably spent 5 minutes. I laid down what I thought I should do. I submitted it, and that was it. And then like a month later, I got the job, and it's memorable to me because I almost passed on it. And it's kind of was a life lesson for me in my career of like, you never know. It could be the next one. Anytime you get something in, you're like, I don't know if I'm really right for this. That could be the one you book. So.
That's true. Yeah. I've had a few of those too. But
yeah.
Hawaii, wow. I mean, it's hard when you're traveling and you're working and you're giving a lot of energy, especially at conventions, right? I just got an audition yesterday for something that was due. It's due in 10 minutes. And I was like,
Did you get it done?
I didn't do it,
no.
actually. No, it's okay. It's all right. But, it's difficult. We have to manage our energy and work really hard to do the audition. So kudos to you for doing that audition.
Yeah.
Was there ever a line that you couldn't stop laughing or crying about while trying to?
Laughing or crying?
Yeah.
Oh, either one. For me, probably My Hero Academia as Sir Night-Eye, because the last scenes of his are very memorable, and I was crying. There were tears streaming down my face, and I thought it was so bad that they wouldn't be able to use the takes because I was all choked up, and it sounded like, to me, awful in terms of like, can you make out what I'm saying? But I felt it. Ooh boy, did I feel it. And they kept everything first take, and so that's probably like the saddest thing for me. I couldn't get out of my head.
So you asked about saddest?
Like you couldn't stop laughing, you couldn't stop crying.
Okay. Laughter, or has anyone seen Anohana? Can you raise your hands? Oh, okay, there you go. Thank you. Cool. Yeah, that one's really sad. I remember having like some really emo moments, and also, anybody watch Vinland Saga? Yeah, you remember that scene with Canute and his father-like figure? I can't remember his name at the moment, but he loses him, and it's just like a tearjerker. So that performance was tricky to do. I'm trying to think of some laughing ones, but maybe Doppio and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure doing the ringtone. You know, I thought it was funny. I don't know.
Good moments.
What's the difference, or if there even is a difference, doing a TV show and a video game?
Ooh.
TV show, like dubbing or like live action? I don't know.
I guess dubbing.
Yeah, I mean, well, probably the first difference is going to be with dubbing, especially in the era of simuldubs now. Like, for instance, I'm recording on Dr. Stone, and we're on a simuldub schedule. So I have to record every week. It's difficult sometimes. Like, this is a 4-day con on the East Coast, and I live in LA, right? And their production week is Wednesday to Tuesday. So the only time I can record is really early on Tuesday to make the deadline. So I'm going to be in that booth at 7 a.m. next Tuesday, so we can get episode 8 of Dr. Stone in the can. Video games, usually there's a little bit more time. Like, they don't need you to record immediately, or, you know, there's a little bit of wiggle room. So video games are a little nicer in that sense, I think.
Yeah. As far as like style goes, like live action or on camera, what we're talking about, live action, right?
Yeah.
Or
Live
if you're dubbing a live action thing, it's tends to be a little more grounded performances, and with video games, it tends to be more dynamic. You know, with video games, you're spouting off efforts and short one-liners and hits and all sorts of things, and you tend to go through it really fast. With dubbing, like a show, you're going to go line by line and, you know, make sure things fit to picture. It's a little different process.
How has the industry changed over years as far as voice acting?
Ooh.
How has the industry changed? Well, it's changed a lot since, well, it's changed a ton from like before I started. I started in 2010, so I know it had already changed a lot. I think when I was coming up, probably when we were coming up to it, things went online, the internet boom, right? You have like pay-to-play websites like voices.com, Voice123, et cetera, and it made it more accessible, so more people could enter the market and do voiceover, which is a great thing. But it also, rates got pushed down because there was so many auditions and things, and people that just want to do it. We've had to fight for, you know, fair wages. So there's kind of that balance.
I think technology, the pandemic, I think especially changed our industry in very interesting ways, and some of which I'm super grateful for, because it's how I got started with several LA studios. Is they reached out because they were like, hey, we know you have a good home setup. Can you work on, you know, World of Warcraft or something like that? And I knew, well, I would never have been able to work on that in Dallas had it not been for, you know, the pandemic. I think all of us had to get much better at engineering and much better at like our like recording and sending in raw source files and things.
I think the pandemic made a lot of people upgrade their equipment. I know lots of peers bought new vocal booths, upgraded their microphones and things during that time. And then likewise, I got work in Dallas. I was hired on Attack on Titan, and they normally would never hire
Yeah.
somebody that was LA based, that was not Dallas based. So that was an opportunity for me to do more work during the pandemic.
Also, did you work with Mike on?
Yeah.
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 It's great. It's great.
Totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What character have you all played that you can most relate to?
What character have you played that you can most relate to?
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. Probably Alir in Fire Emblem, and that may just be because he just has my regular speaking voice, and I spent a lot of time with him. But also, I really liked the approach they took for him, in that essentially I was told, like, okay, you wake up and you don't know what's going on. You're just a dude. I'm like, I can be just a dude. Just a dude is great for me. So yeah, probably Alir in Fire Emblem Engage.
I could identify, my teenage self could identify with Jintan from Anohana. My adult self maybe more Tadano and Agretzko. Anybody like Agretzko? Yeah? Nice. Yeah. That's all I have to say on that.
How do you all create the voice of a character? What goes into that process?
Ooh, how do we create a voice for a character?
I think to create a voice, we initially a lot of times take cues from either the Japanese references or the images that they give us. You know, if they send us a script with a picture of the character, that can really inform you. Do they have buck teeth? Do they have beady eyes? Are they super handsome? Are they sultry? I mean, you can take a lot in from a photo, and then often they'll give you attributes like this person is hot-headed, or I don't know, jealous, or they're very caring, or whatever. So you use these clues along with the picture to kind of craft the voice. But then, you know, it can be real as easy as like, we want it to match the Japanese. And then in that case, you listen to the tonality, and you can hear a lot from that, and you can just kind of like, you know, try to match it.
Yeah. We rely so heavily on the character breakdown in the auditions we get sent, because we really don't have anything else to base it off of. So.
Are you usually full-blown acting in a session, or are you non-reactive when it comes to saying a line, trying to say your lines?
Well, I think we're trying to be authentic in any read that we're giving. So I would argue, even in reads where we sound flat, we're still full-blown acting, is what I would argue, at least.
That's an interesting question. I took this workshop like some years ago, and it it really stuck with me. There was like this older kind of bitter actor, and he's like, anime is not acting, and he was adamant about it, and I was like, I had to sit with it and think about it. And the thing about it is, voiceover, there's so many genres, right? And everything has its own style. So even if, say, anime or video games have a certain sound to it, an affectation, if you will, you're still trying to come at it from an authentic place. It's kind of like if you're doing like a 1950s or 1940s style, oh, see, yeah, you know, that like kind of mid-Atlantic sound. You know, somebody might say, well, that's not acting, but it is acting. It's just that was the style at the time or whatever. So I think it's all acting. I think, you know, if you're not acting, you're not doing a good job. But yeah, it all should come from a place of authenticity.
Wow, he said anime isn't acting.
Yeah.
Dang. And I mean, to that, I immediately think of, like, when I was doing my performance as Gyutaro, the mental place I went to be that angry and that upset was really dwelling on being bullied in elementary school for me. And I sat with it and I seethed. And it, like, affected me for days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I mean, it would have to me too.
If you could go back and tell your younger self something about voice acting, what would it be?
To tell our younger selves
Yes.
about voice acting? Well, on like a practical way, I wish I had known about voiceover when I was younger. and I didn't start until I was 22, and I know I look probably pretty young, but I'm a good bit older than that now. And there's such a need for young sounding voices. Like if I had known that right out the gate, I would have gotten into anime sooner.
Yeah.
I did a video game called World of Final Fantasy, and the director, this was like in 2013 or 2014, and he said, you know, you have a good voice for anime, and if you ever want to do dubbing, hit me up. I waited 2 whole years before I hit him up because I don't know. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't like that fascinated at the time, and I kind of wish I had gone back and been like, hey, you, write him immediately. Because 2 years later I did, and he brought me in, and he taught me how to do dubbing and stuff, but I just wish I had done it sooner.
I'm right there with you. I didn't start voice acting until I was 27, actually. So I'm a very late bloomer. But I'm gonna need same answer. I wish I would have started sooner.
Now we're going to do a Q&A for the audience, if you all would like.
I hope we can hear them okay.
I do too.
I'm having a hard time hearing you guys.
But they might pump them through our monitors here. I hope.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
It's pretty bright.
The lights are flaring.
Hi, I guess it's me.
Oh no.
Quick question. I know you guys both have a pretty robust portfolio under your belts already, but for any voice actors just getting started out, how would you recommend utilizing self-marketing to get noticed?
Ooh.
Oh, cool. Self-marketing as in like to get voiceover jobs or to grow your social media presence or all of the above?
All of the above. I know TikTok has made a huge difference for a lot of up-and-coming voice actors, but what would be your advice?
Oh, that's difficult because I feel like when we entered the industry, it was a little different.
Yeah, I agree. I started in 2010, and to be honest, I didn't even do the social media thing until like way late. Like 3 years ago, I started pushing that because I had more roles under my belt, and people were starting to recognize my work. You definitely have to be your biggest fan. I mean, nobody is going to promote you better than yourself, and you just have to know that. And when you're writing emails, if you're submitting your demo, be confident. Don't brag, but humbly tell them that you're good. You know what I mean? The marketing that was involved when I was starting out was simply sending emails and being like, hey, I'm so-and-so, I've done this work, and I'm looking for representation. As far as like getting more jobs, most of the jobs you're gonna get are gonna be through auditions and then working with a director that then refers you to somebody else. So that's like most of it. It's gonna be like more natural sort of marketing in a way, but I think after a while, if you have enough roles and stuff, then you can start pushing on TikTok and social media, start comping together your character reels. Make a character reel of like all the voices you've done in anime or video games, and you can start highlighting that. Like all the voice actors on TikTok start with a video that's like, hey, I'm so-and-so, and these are some of the characters you may know me from. And I swear, like,
Those videos do so well.
they blow up. Like, that is a great blueprint to use. I've seen people get 8 million plays on them and beyond. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of like my experience.
No, absolutely. I come from a musical theater background too, so
Cool.
Theater majors, so it's definitely a different beast, and I really appreciate that perspective.
Yeah. Cool.
Best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for being here. My
you.
question is, which one of your roles do you guys think was your most vocally stressful or intensive?
Mine's an easy answer. Gyutaro and Demon Slayer from last season. That was lot of screaming. That fight with Tengen, I think it's like a 15 or 20 second just full out yell, and I almost passed out in the booth from it. So
my God.
yeah, if you want to hear me almost pass out, Demon Slayer.
I would say probably either Akira from Devilman Crybaby, because there was so much yelling in that, and also Doppio and JoJo's, because there's a lot of scenes where he's getting brutalized. He's having razor blades come out of him and stuff like that. So it was like really lots of blood-curdling kind of screams.
Screaming's hard.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, when I heard Doppio and Gyutaro, I was like, how are they doing all of that screaming?
It's rough.
Hello. Oh.
Hello.
Hi. I'm a new voice actor, and I'm curious, what is the best advice you've ever received? That could be a nugget of wisdom for other voice actors.
Best advice you've ever received?
Ever. I think. No, go ahead.
Okay. This is just off the top of my head. I don't know if it's the best advice I've ever been given, but something that comes to mind is that when I was new, I didn't know that you could have representation like all over the country. I thought that it was like LA, that's it. Like you gotta have an LA agent, and that's like your ticket to being successful. And that's really not true. Two reasons. One is that you can have an agent in every major metropolitan area. So like I have 5 or 6 agents, and I get work, different types of work through those different markets. And then I forget the other piece I was gonna talk about on that. Shoot, I forget.
Think it over. Well, I get one. Mine was, I was studying at a conservatory for opera, actually, in Michigan. And the best advice I learned that I still use to this day is, it's not your job to get hired, it's your job to get rehired. Like, make everyone's life so easy that they rehire you. And that's stuck with me.
I can second that for sure. Like, if you build a rapport with people and they know that you do good work and that you're not an asshole and you're just like easy, on time, that goes a long way. So every job you do, make sure you're on time, do the best job you can, and be friendly. That goes so far.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
sure thing.
You talked about authentic performances earlier. I do a lot of theater on the side, not professionally. And so much of what I do is in response to what the other actors are giving to me in the moment on the stage. But for voice acting, most of the time you're by yourself in a booth. So how do you overcome that obstacle and still give honest and authentic performances without anybody else in there?
I feel you. I'm a Meisner guy, so I very much in tune with just acting as reacting. And I have a stage background as well, and even on camera acting is reacting. You have someone there, but with voiceover, it's difficult, right? Especially the type of VO that we do is largely ADR style in the booth on our own type of thing. So I would say the key is to have a very well-developed imagination where you can see a line in a script before yours and viscerally imagine someone inches from your face saying that line a very specific way that you can respond to.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, sometimes your director will read you in. They'll give you the line right before it, and they may loosely act it out for you. So that's really helpful. Or if the other lines have already been recorded by the other voice actors, they'll play them for you so that you can play off of them. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. May the force be with you.
And also with you.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
I was wondering 2 things. They're very short. Do you have any tips for opera? Because I'm actually an opera singer.
Ooh.
Studying at Alabama School of Fine Arts. And
Exciting.
what are your favorite snacks for after sessions to help you relax after hard vocal stuff?
Oh, like before or after?
After.
After. Oh, after. Okay, for opera, I guess it depends on the type of voice that you have too. If you are one of those voices that needs a lot of like warming up, don't forget to warm up. Like there were times when I'd be like, oh, I'm fine for my for my voice session or whatever with my coach. I don't need to warm up. Ooh, you spend half the session like warming up, right? So lots and lots and lots of warming up. Opera is very vocally intense because, for those of you who don't know, the whole point of training in opera is to strengthen your voice into a certain type of almost EQ curve that will soar over an orchestra. So when I was training as a type of voice called a spinto tenor that's very metallic, and it's got a giant spike in like a 1.8K range on an EQ, which later on has made it very difficult because sometimes I will peak microphones, like a TLM 103, I'll peak the microphone without it peaking in volume. Like it just distorts because that singer's formant. So I don't know, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I would say like be very gentle with your voice because you're training in a very vocally intense style. And I think when I was studying in college, I would try to, go beyond plus ultra everything. And that wasn't the best for my vocal health, honestly. And let's see, snacks or things like self-care for the voice, what I like to have after I do something vocally intense, I like milkshakes. They're terrible for your voice, but I love them. Yeah.
The only thing I can add is I remembered I had this in my bag. These are, the brand is called Ninjum, Ninjiom, and they're herbal candies. And if your voice is ever sore or tired, just use one of these and it'll like coat your throat. It's really great. So anybody ever heard of these?
No, it's a loquat.
Okay, yeah.
Honey loquat.
Honey loquat. Yeah, you can get them on Amazon, I believe. I'm not sponsored by them or anything.
They're amazing. Good.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Oh,
Thank you.
Hey guys, my question is both of you have spoken to the humanity of a voice, and what are your concerns, if any, about the rise of AI and your job security and job security for the voice acting industry in general?
Sure. Yeah, this is a hot topic right now. To be honest, I don't feel like I'm as well informed about AI as I should be, and naively, I think I feel like there's more time, like that the technology isn't quite there yet to duplicate us in a way that if you're, say, doing an anime and you're like, we need this reaction that's like just like this. I don't know. I feel like it's not going to quite be as authentic and good as getting the real deal. That's my gut, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe we already have that technology. But my other thought is that would fans really want that? I feel like there would be a rejection of that. I mean, does anybody want to know that all their favorite shows are robots? I don't know.
Nobody wants it. They just
Yeah,
keep the money in their wallet.
I know. I just wonder if possibly there would be a lot of pushback and therefore people maybe wouldn't do it.
I do think the key is in the fan support, is in the consumers of what we produce, right? So I think if, for instance, if like a major studio ever starts dubbing anime with an AI and there's a huge pushback from the fandom, I think the company will decide ultimately not to do it. So my urging to you would be, please continue to support us as voice actors and don't support that if it comes out, please.
I also think that like things don't happen necessarily in extremes. So what I mean by that is that AI may take over a certain genre of voice acting. Maybe certain live action dubs of a show, a Spanish show or something, gets an AI dub. But maybe Attack on Titan never does, or things like that. Maybe it takes over certain types of voiceover, but not all of it. And I'm really hopeful that it doesn't displace us.
Fingers crossed, right?
Hello. My question is, I've been voice acting a bit for about 2 years now, but I was wondering what advice you guys have for different kind of vocal demo reels, and do you need a specific one to kind of break into the anime side of dubbing?
Well, at least when I was starting out, you definitely wanted to have a commercial demo to start. Reason being is that an agency tends to want to hear that and know that you're capable of booking commercials, because at least when I was starting, that was where the bulk of the money was. So I would say it's still true today. You absolutely should have a commercial demo to get your foot in the door. After that moment, when you have the agent, that demo isn't that important, but it is your like initial calling card. And the funny thing is that once you're in at an agency, then they can start sending you animation, video games, etc. And I didn't get those other demos made until way later in my career, like 3 years ago. It didn't hurt me any. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, same here, same here. My first demo was a commercial demo to get in the door, and then animation interactive came later.
Thank you.
Sure.
So, I've heard from Joe Zija that mentality is the most important thing for an actor. What are some low points in your acting career, and how did you overcome them?
Ooh, I couldn't make out.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear quite all of that. Josie just said talent was the most important.
Mentality.
The talent?
Mentality.
I can't understand anything up here, just as a reverb.
Mental.
Mentality.
Mentality. Oh, yes.
And then what was the second part of your question there?
What was I saying again? Oh yeah. What are some low points in your acting career in terms of mentality, and how did you overcome them?
Oh, what were like some low points in your acting career? How do you use your mentality to recover? I think acting is a long game, right? So, unlike many other types of jobs or industries, our income is very volatile. So we definitely have periods of like feast or famine is how it works. And it's very easy during periods of famine to think, oh, my entire worth as an actor is completely decimated, and like I'm an awful actor, and this is why I am where I am. But that's so not true. There's so much involved in this career that you have no control over whatsoever. And I think having sort of like a long-term mentality, and even having things in your life that aren't related to voice acting, I believe are very, very important. You know, having other creative outlets. Like I do a lot of music. I do a lot of music covers, music production, stuff like that. And it's something that you can have full control over and feel good about when you're producing and putting out into the world. I imagine you feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just like highlight a time that was tough for me. So when I got my first agent, I had a bunch of beginner's luck when I was starting my career, and I think I booked one of the very first auditions that I came in for at the agency, and I was thrilled. But then I went a year and a half without booking anything through this agent. Now, I was booking things elsewhere through other ways, other regional agents and whatnot, so I knew I didn't like totally suck, but I was starting to worry. I was like, why am I not booking here in LA and getting these like nice, juicy Los Angeles jobs? And so I was starting to doubt myself. And what I did is I said, I'm going to go to a coach, a private coach, and figure this out. So I went and worked with somebody, and they guided me. They gave me good advice. They said, Griffin, you should be booking work. She said, the agency you're with, there's other fish in the sea. And that was really good advice, because I went out and I found a different agency, and within months, I started booking work. So sometimes you can go through a period where you think it's you, and it might not be. It might just be luck's not on your side at that time, and you got to keep persevering. But it is a long game. You got to stick it out. If you give it just a year and then that's it, it's not enough time. You know, who knew that Genshin Impact would happen? I mean, I'm taking some people are Genshin fans, right? I mean, I've been doing VO since 2010, and this is the first time. These last couple of years are the first time when people actually know who I am and my work, and it all is because of one job. And then they connect the dots and say, oh, you're this and that and this and that, and so much can change. It could just be the one job where things just kind of, the dominoes fall.
It's wild. It's wild.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello. Oh, that was
Hello.
loud. Okay. I was wondering if you book a big role or if you're working on an ongoing project and you have to act the spoilers before everyone else sees them, how you fight the temptation and keep the secret even though it's really exciting.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard to keep NDAs sometimes. Yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult sometimes.
Yeah, stay away from Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Don't accidentally post something. You'll not get hired again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, my name's Hakeem, and I'm a very new voice actor. I just started a little less than 6 months ago.
Cool.
So, my question to you is, I have been able to get some work recently. I did some stuff with Goodwill and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm at a point in my career where I want to get a coach or a mentor to like help me propel myself forward. So what is your experience with that, and like how would you go about that?
How do you go about getting a coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I've reached out to colleagues to ask for recommendations.
Yeah. I mean, if you know any working professionals, you can write them and ask them who they've coached with. You can also search their websites, and oftentimes on their resume, it'll say who they coached with.
Oh yeah.
One resource that still exists that I used to use was voiceoverresourceguide.com, and they listed like every coach out there in like LA, New York, probably other markets too, and you can just it'll tell you on there like who coaches through Zoom. So if you say there's an LA coach that's amazing, you could probably still work with him, assuming that you live locally here. So use the resources online. Find your favorite voice actors' websites, see who they coached with.
I agree.
Would you coach me? I said, would you coach me?
Oh.
Who did I coach with?
No, would you coach me?
Oh, would I coach you?
Yeah.
I am super flattered. I will be completely honest. I just simply don't have time right now.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
A lot of us at cons are super busy.
Yeah.
With stuff right now. But.
Thanks.
Of course.
Hello. Oh my gosh. So this is kind of a random question, but what sort of technology do you find yourself working with, like Logic? Or I know you mentioned your music production. I am too. So I also am interested in like the voice acting inside of things as well as music. But what sort of software do you use? Or because I know you guys probably send out stuff and.
I'm a Logic guy myself. I love Logic. I love doing music in Logic, everything in Logic. But I also have Pro Tools, so I can like work with other studios because that's the standard.
I feel like an oddball. I use Cubase because when I was starting to record as like a 12-year-old, that's what came with the bundle. You know, I bought some recording bundle, came with Cubase, and I was like always a Cubase user. I also have Logic for music. And there's so many programs. I mean, for voiceover, you don't need much. No. Twisted Wave is fine, Audacity, whatever. You only need one track. As far as equipment goes, like I use a UA Apollo Twin interface.
Yeah.
I also own a Steinberg UR22, which is pretty basic. Microphones, Sennheiser 416. And I also have a Gefell M930.
That's sick. My other question was actually going to be, what are your advice for people who want to build some home studios or, you know, mics that y'all enjoy? I don't know.
Advice on microphones? Or what was it?
Any kind of equipment. What kind of things do you find yourself interacting with most as voice actors?
I mean, the interface that you just said is the same one I've got, UA Apollo Twin X.
I feel like everybody during COVID bought the UA Apollo Twin.
Yeah.
So great.
I feel like I didn't quite hear your question, but are you asking like what we would recommend?
Yeah, what do you guys
like?
Use? What do you like?
Would you like no limit on funds or like starting out or?
Maybe like a lower end budget, and then like what's your like?
I was gonna add like when I was starting, I used a Rode NT1A for like 6 years, and it's $200, and I did tons of jobs on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Rode mic as well for my first mic. I think it was
Okay.
like a $500 mic, but it was still like around the same area. Rode makes great mics.
Yeah.
And then a lower priced interface that is still has a great reputation is the SSL interface, SSL Plus,
Yeah.
SSL2, something like that.
And Scarlett, the Focusrite, you can't go wrong with that.
It's true. I got that
Yeah.
one. All right, cool. That was my
Yeah.
question.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, I think that kind of get close to our.
Yeah. We have about six minutes. I did have a few more questions.
sure,
till
sure.
Then. What does vocal placement play in creating a character? Like, are you talking from your nose, the back of your throat? Like, and I'm sure it's different for every character. So, how does that play a part?
I mean, vocal placement definitely has a part to play in what we do, and there are definitely, like, the more character-y of a voice that we're doing, the higher chance there is of us using a placement that's different from our normal tone of voice. But I find that most of the characters that I do, that I'm hired to do, are just my regular voice with some sort of, like, dominant emotion. Like Gen from Dr. Stone is very sassy, just terribly sassy character. You can do a lot with character differentiation without placement, I find. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the roles I'm hired for, it's pretty much in my normal register. Occasionally, I'll have to dip down, and it's more of a head voice. Up here now, and then sometimes you'll lower it more into your chest. But to add to that, you don't have to be good at a million things in voiceover. You just have to be great at whatever your thing is. So I would try to hone in on your voice if you're trying to do voiceover. Don't mean to make assumptions. And be great at that one thing. And then from there you can start to expand and broaden your portfolio of voices. But yeah.
Are you usually sitting or standing in a session? Because I'm sure that plays a part.
Sitting or standing? I do handstands. I'm upside down when I record. No.
Yeah, I stand for like everything. It's hard for me to act when I'm sitting down.
I stand mostly if it's a really long session, or if it's for Muichiro and Demon Slayer, I sit because he's so chill.
What would you say to someone who's getting a lot of no's for their auditions? Like, what advice would you give to them as far as for them to continue on?
Getting a lot of notes on their audition?
Oh, I'm sorry, no's. Like, they keep getting no's.
Oh, that's
right.
not booking auditions.
Things to not do?
Yeah, no, like advice for people who aren't booking.
Oh.
Really.
Okay.
I guess you should follow Griffin's lead and coach, because that's a great way. Checking in with a coach is really important. I coached a bit after I moved to LA and was trying to get an agent, and I was like, ooh, I need to figure this out. It's a different market from Dallas, very different.
I'd say assuming that your reads are good, the thing that can really make or break an audition or make you better and stand out is improv. So if we're talking commercials, maybe it's adding something up front. We call it an ad lib or a button. You can add a little something to the end of the spot, end of the commercial that makes it your own. It depends on what you're auditioning for, but it can be as simple as a sigh or a laugh, just something that gives the script some more life and lets the person know that you're willing to make creative choices. So that's definitely helpful to booking. I've booked, we don't really slate anymore, and now a slate, does anybody know what a slate is? Do you know what that means? Okay, so basically before your audition, you'll say, hi, I'm Griffin Burns, reading for the role of blah, 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 or as simply as Griffin Burns, and then go into your thing. We don't slate as much anymore, but when we did, I used to slate in character. I used to do all sorts of crazy stuff with my slate, and sometimes I'd book because of that, so you never know.
Do you not slate at all anymore?
Don't slate at all.
Oh, really?
I don't have any. There's no slates anymore. At least the auditions I get say no slate.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those. Yeah.
And then my last question would be, what's the most challenging part of being a voice actor, and how do you overcome that?
The most challenging part of being a voice actor, how do you overcome it? Probably a mental game, I would think.
Yeah.
I think the mental game of being a voice actor is the most difficult thing, and I think pushing through that can be the hardest. But it's important. I think the key to getting through that is having things that don't depend on other people picking you out of like a pile of 3,000 auditions and saying you are worth something. You know what I mean? I think that's the key to that.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I think it's the times when you're not busy. Like, I thrive on being busy and booking and having a full day of, I got an audition, I got a session, I got a this. And, you know, every now and then it's not like that. Some days you go a few days without something or an audition and you're like kind of twiddling your thumbs. It's during those times where you got to know that your worth isn't just, it's not just in your work, you're more than that. And that's when you turn to other things that you like, your music, or maybe you're going to catch up on a show, or maybe you just want to relax. I don't know. You got to just let yourself kind of do some other things and not, you know, beat yourself up over not being productive. So that can be hard.
Well, Brandon and Griffin, I thoroughly enjoyed interviewing you all on Behind the Mic. Everyone give them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, and come see us at our tables. I think we're both.
Yeah, so we're both gonna head over to our autograph booths if anybody wanted to meet us. And
the Walk of Fame is, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I brought my air child, my inflatable air dancer child.
I love that thing. It looks so great.
It's pretty fun. Thanks again.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, Ariel.